welcome back everyone, and it's time to go Buns Deep.
It's showtime!
Today we are talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, and this time around a follow-up video on our other Tokyo, Japan Jujutsu School Explained. As a reminder, there are two schools of Jujutsu within the manga, one being located in Tokyo and the other in Kyoto. We covered every single sorcerer of Tokyo in a separate video, so if you guys are interested in learning everything about them in the terms of the power and story, I highly suggest for you guys to check it out. And before I start, I have to let you guys know that your support on our Jujutsu Kaisen content has truly been great. With all of you smashing that like button and joining our community by hitting that notification bell, we have ultimately been able to keep pumping these content out for you. So I humbly ask for you guys to continue doing so we can make JJK great within the anime community and give it all the attention it deserves. Okay, so the Kyoto Prefectural Jujutsu High School is the second educational facility in Japan dedicating to teaching Jujutsu and the rules to the world around it. Just like its sister Tokyo School, the Kyoto School has 4 years of attendance, teaching about curses, curse techniques, and survival as a Jujutsu sorcerer. These students are expected to graduate with ample knowledge to deal with curses and cursed users in the world. There is also the Kyoto Sister-School Goodwill Event, where the second and third years of both Japan's school participate in competition. This allows for the school student to learn about each other, their classmates, and themselves. This is a 2-day event where the principal of each school decide on trials for the students. But recently there has been a tradition that the first day is a team battle and the second day to be individual battles. The location of the events is always at the winning school of the previous year. So this year's event was held in Tokyo. We also have a couple of changes to this year's rules, like the participation of the first year students. Also, a quick note is that the Kyoto School comes off as much more based in hierarchy. The students follows the orders of the strongest sorcerers in their class and directly answer to Principal Gaku Ganji. Otherwise, from all of that, the Kyoto branch works just like the Tokyo branch. So let's get into the juicy bits and start with the students that we currently know attended the Kyoto School, starting with the third years. Yes, this time around I'm going from year 3 to year 1. Then I'll go into the teachers. So first we are going to be talking about the beast himself, and honestly he is my favorite character in this whole series. I said it. I'm sorry all of you Gojo stans. I'm talking about Aoi Todo. Now don't get me wrong, Gojo is still up there for me, but Todo takes the cake. It's just his personality and the way he carries himself. I just can't help but liking the fact that my man is just so simple. Even the author of Jujutsu Kaisen stated that they would liken his character to a highly skilled gorilla that reached grade 1, even though he's not from a sorcerer family. Now for those of you guys who don't know the grading system, we have covered it previously on our last few videos, but a little brief explanation is that there are special grades: grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 and grade 4, with special grade being the highest and grade 4 being the lowest. And a quick point to make is that grade 1 sorcerers can go head to toe with special graded curse spirit. And when we come to the third year student Todo, unlike the other characters that are from clans who have special traits, Todo can truly say that his skills and achievements is from his own merit. Now Todo actually comes off as the shonen trope as the rambunctious and over-the-top meathead character, and in a lot of ways he is, but that doesn't take away from Todo's greatness, it only adds to it. When he first met Megumi, his first question was, "What type of girl do you like, huh?" He doesn't speak like that, he's way cooler. But this is Todo's most famous quote, and rightfully so. Todo believes that learning about a guy's preference in a girl, he can tell a lot about their personality. If the guy's taste in a girl is boring by Todo's standards, then he thinks the guy in question is boring as well. And this is pretty much what caused Todo to beat Megumi senselessly and try to make him fight seriously. Yes, Todo's a really bold guy and definitely makes it clear what he likes and what he dislikes. This is why he took a strong liking to Itadori Yuji, along with some other things, because Yuji's response matched Todo's, making him feel like they are best friends. In fact, making him feel like they are brothers. So let's get into what made Todo the way he is. From a very young age, as a child, Todo was abnormally strong. And I'm talking beast mode, Hulk smash, man's gonna beat your ass type of strong.
God damn!
And all of that while still being just a kid. And because of that, he felt like life was boring. It's similar to how super smart kids live their life as a child and all their peers comparatively are pretty dumb. In Todo's respect, it was more of a physical challenge. Well, that was until he met his great mentor Yuki Tsukumo, who is a special grade sorcerer and peer to Gojo and Geto. And she was the person that Todo got the girl type question from because it was her go-to phrase for men as well. And to be honest, this inspiration and influence alone shows how much respect Todo has for his sensei. Now, as I said before, Todo is a character to achieve greatness with his own abilities. Like, he had the strength to take on 5 first grade curses and a special grade all on his own. And to top it off, he killed all of the first grade curses without even using his innate curse technique. This event became so big that it was dubbed the Shinjuku to Kyoto Night of 100 Demons, and Todo was the headliner. But on the topic of Todo's innate curse technique, it's called the Boogie Woogie. And I'm not making that shit up, that's actually the name of his technique. From a first glance, some of you guys might be thinking, what the heck was Todo taking when he came up with this name? Well, it'll all make sense because this technique allows Todo to switch places with anything that consists of cursed energy. An example of this was in chapter 51 when Todo would make himself and Yuji switch places while fighting against the special grade curse Hanami, causing Hanami to be flustered and confused at times. Todo can also choose to switch places with cursed weapons and the enemies too. As long as anything has a bit of cursed energy in it, Todo can boogie woogie his way there. The only thing this technique requires is for him to clap his hands and focus on the point of switch consisting of a high enough cursed energy. In a lot of ways, it is like Sasuke's Rinnegan Heavenly Hand power. Obviously, this creates many scenarios for Todo to work with while in battle and extremely confuse his opponents due to his quick switches. He also has shown to trick his enemies with his claps, making them think he's about to activate his technique, but it would be a fake out. What also adds to Todo's strength is his knowledge on the flow of cursed energy. Todo understands the philosophical aspect of emotions and thoughts, controlling the flow and the power behind cursed energy, which actually takes Todo out of the dumb meathead character with power category. Todo has also shown this in mentoring Yuji in understanding how his cursed energy flows. Todo helped Yuji control his divergent fist and push him to use the Black Flash technique, which is a very powerful cursed strike attack, which Todo can do as well. So Todo has been shown to take the senpai role, especially towards Yuji. Later in the Shibuya incident arc, Todo arrived just in time to help Yuji in his fight against Mahito and gave him words of encouragement and motivation to keep fighting even in tough times. Honestly, Todo's appearance drastically changed the difficulty level for Mahito, completely leaving him confused each time his Boogie Woogie was used. Now, while fighting against Mahito 1v1, Todo had a complete upper hand and left Mahito unable to lay any hits. However, as we know, Mahito is not an easy opponent. After activating his domain, Todo did receive heavy damage, but he did manage to avoid death by using a simple domain that he learned from Tsukumo Yuki. This fight is also where we see Todo execute his Black Flash multiple times, which was pretty awesome. Basically, Todo is an all-around great fighter and can adapt to many situations, shown in the fight against Hanami and later against Mahito. But that's enough about Todo. I know how great he is. If you guys want me to go more balls deep in it, wait a minute, that sounded weird. But if you do want me to cover Todo in more detail, then let me know in the comment section down below, where I will then do a video about his past and explain every single one of his techniques. So moving forwards, the next student we have is Noritoshi Kamo. Noritoshi Kamo is not only a 3rd year, but the current heir to the Kamo clan. On top of that, he's already considered a semi-grade 1 sorcerer, whilst having the inherited Kamo clan ability, blood manipulation. Yes guys, I know all of you guys are thinking it. Noritoshi is a bloodbender. Well, actually it's not really. I would say his technique is more comparable to the branch of sin in Dead Man Wonderland. He's not a legitimate son of the current Kamo clan head, but a child of a mistress. Due to her son having the family's inherited ability and none of the legitimate children having it, he took on the role as the heir so that his mother can no longer face prejudice against the Kamo family. So because of this, Noritoshi has a really big obsession with bloodlines and the 3 great clans. So much in fact that he kept pressuring Megumi, saying that he was just like him because he inherited the technique of the Zenin family. Of course, Megumi disagrees, so there's a lot of tension between them. He also had a lot of respect for Maki and Mai, considering they are children of the current Zenin family head, where Noritoshi understands the importance of being next in line. But with that, let's actually get into his innate ability. Power-wise, it makes sense Noritoshi is a semi-grade 1. Having the ability blood manipulation allows him to control his blood inside and outside of his body, whilst also controlling inanimate objects such as arrows and other things when they have a bit of his blood on them. But that's not the only thing he can do. When fighting against Megumi during the Goodwill exchange, Noritoshi was able to increase his blood flow, creating a doping effect to become faster and stronger. And I know I have been doing a lot of comparisons with other animes, I just couldn't help and think of the breathing techniques in Demon Slayer. In some ways there is a lot of similarities in this. And if that is the case, this ability, which by the way is called the Flowing Red Scale, could also help Noritoshi recover faster from battle wounds. However, this isn't confirmed, so take that with a grain of salt. Now Noritoshi also has the ability called Slicing Exorcism, where he turns blood into a circular blade with 4 edges and fires them at his opponent. And then his ability Crimson Binding lets him spread blood out wide enough to create a cage for the target. And this was actually large enough to capture one of Megumi's Shikigami New. There are also 2 more powerful techniques Noritoshi has, called Convergence and Piercing Blood. I mentioned these 2 together because Convergence must happen for Noritoshi to do Piercing Blood. What happens is, Convergence allows for Noritoshi to take a certain amount of blood and condense it into a small amount, adding a lot of pressure on the blood. This is then followed by his technique Piercing Blood, which is the release of that condensed blood being shot out as a direct arrow in an extremely high speed. And this seems to be Noritoshi's strongest move. For those who watched Dead Man Wonderland would understand the comparison to Ganta's branch of sin, Ganta Gun. Moving on to the last 3rd year of Kyoto High, we have Momo Nishimiya. Momo is a 3rd year semi-grade 2 sorcerer with the ability of tool manipulation. She rides on a broomstick similar to a witch, and just like a witch, her personality can come up pretty nasty. As during the Goodwill event, originally not showing her true nature, Momo acted as if she was intimidated by the first years of Tokyo High, but that was all a farce to gain an upper hand. Momo is extremely loyal to her classmates within Kyoto High, specifically Miwa and Mai. Actually, in many ways, Momo has a very high level of respect for Mai, just as Nobara has for Maki. Along with different ideals, Momo naturally had opposing views to Nobara and the reality of life as a female Jujutsu sorcerer, where eventually it's what elevated their clash against each other. But when we get into Momo's ability, her tool manipulation allows her to use her broom as an object for mobility as well as a weapon to blow powerful winds of cursed energy. Basically, her broom can not only help her fly, but transform into a freaking wind scythe. Now, I know this doesn't make her a powerhouse, but with the technicality behind her ability, she is able to manipulate and handle tasks such as information gathering and quick mobility pretty proficiently. Now, apart from that, we don't know much about her. Hopefully, we'll get a better backstory later on in the series, but for now, let's go into the 2nd year students of Kyoto High, starting with Mai Zenin. Now, we did mention a bit of her in the last Tokyo video. Yes, Mai is a grade 3 sorcerer and the younger twin sister of Maki Zenin. Much like Maki, Mai was born with very little cursed energy, but could still see curses naturally. However, that still wasn't enough for her to be shown respect from her family. Why, you ask? Well, she was a woman and her omen due to being a twin. And to make things worse, after Maki left to become a sorcerer, even after promising Mai that they would stay with each other forever, and due to Maki's actions, the head of the Zenin clan forced Mai to also attempt to become a sorcerer. Because of this, she has become a very straightforward and harsh person who isn't happy about being a sorcerer. She comes off very uptight and does everything she can to down-talk Maki and her achievements or strength. She actually does this so much, it even caused Miwa to completely underestimate Maki and get whooped so fast. But coming to Mai's techniques, if she has very little cursed energy, how does she make up for it? Well, when it comes to fighting, she uses a gun. Yes, she just shoots the cursed spirits to death. By pouring her cursed energy into the gun, she's able to reinforce the bullets. Not only that, but she has one hell of a shot. She's basically an expert marksman. She's able to use her revolver like a sniper rifle. Actually, she can even use a sniper rifle pretty well too. But a gun does have a limit of ammo. However, Mai also has that covered. Once a day, she's able to use a large amount of cursed energy to create a bullet out of nothing. Yes, thin air. An ability called Construction, which she's still working to increase the effectiveness over time, as there is a drawback to this ability that gives a backlash to her body when activated. Okay, for the next 2nd year student, we have is Kokichi Muta, also known as Ultimate Mechamaru. Kokichi is a semi-grade 1 sorcerer with a heavenly restriction that gave his body a lot of disabilities. Kokuchi's entire body is scarred and wrapped in bandages, along with the fact that my man has a missing right arm and no legs. This is a pretty sad setback if you ask me. Probably the worst heavenly restriction I've seen. But like all heavenly restriction, he was granted something in return. In his case, an immense amount of cursed energy. You know, you win some, you lose some. But because of this, Kokuchi longs for a normal body with normal interactions. And I wouldn't blame him. My man is very smart, level-headed, and a pretty cunning guy who always does his best to think 2 steps ahead. Other than that, he has a very close relationship with Kasumi Miwa, who I'm going to get to in a bit. Now coming to Muta's curse technique, puppet manipulation. It allows him to manipulate puppets that resemble robots from a remote location. He can use these puppets throughout all of Japan because of his heavenly restriction. Muta's main puppet he uses is Mechamaru, hence his nickname. This is his main body he uses when he goes out in public and fighting during the Goodwill arc. But Muta has multiple different attachments and edits to the Ultimate Mechamaru so that he can fight. These are the sword option. This is when multiple swords come out of Ultimate Mechamaru's arms and nails. This also increases the size of his forearms and gives him spikes. He also uses a move called Ultra Spin, where he spins his hands and forearms, swinging his right arm. Just imagine how much damage that can do. Then he has Ultimate Shield. Mechamaru raises his arms to create a guard that covers his entire forearm in defensive spikes. The next option he can use is Boost On, where Mechamaru releases cursed energy from his elbows, causing a burst of speed to attack faster. Ultra Cannon is next, where Mechamaru fires a blast of cursed energy from the palm of his hand. Next is Mode Albatross. Mechamaru brings a cannon from his mouth to use the ultimate move, his Ultimate Cannon, where Mechamaru fires a blast of cursed energy from it more powerful than Ultra Cannon. One of the last final big brain ultimate moves that Mechamaru has is his Ultimate Mechamaru Mode Absolute. This is a large mecha that Muta had stored years of cursed energy into. With this mecha, it allowed him to even damage the likes of Mahito, a special grade curse, and put a really good fight. This mode has multiple attacks such as Ultra Cannon, a move where the Ultimate Mechamaru fires a cursed energy for one hand, consuming 1 year of the cursed energy he stored, and then Miracle Cannon, a move where Ultimate Mechamaru fires cursed energy from both hands, consuming 2 years of energy, and then Vision Viola, which name I probably butchered, a move where Mechamaru creates 5 orbs made of cursed energy and then blasts them as projectiles. This consumes 5 years worth of Ultimate Mechamaru's energy, and trust me, the damage is unreal. So yeah, Mechamaru is pretty powerful and definitely a formidable opponent who has a really broken technique. Okay, next up is Kokuchi's love interest, Kasumi Miwa. Yes guys, we're finally here. She's a grade 3 sorcerer and isn't on the strong side of the students, but is a member of the Shingake clan. All that is known about Miwa is that she comes from a very poor family and has 2 younger brothers. She has a very kind heart and is probably Gojo's #1 fan. She acts like your typical high school girl in private, but tries to stay serious when Principal Gakuganji is around. But focusing on Miwa's ability, she uses the new Shadow Style swordsmanship technique. And even if she doesn't have an innate technique and doesn't possess any overwhelming strength, and she did utterly get decimated by Maki, her swordsmanship ability ain't really clear. However, she's still considered an expert by her peers. Miwa is also able to use Simple Domain, the ability that creates a diameter of 2.21 meters, and anything that enters it, she can instantly slice it off. Miwa also possesses a quick draw technique called the Butter Sword Drawing. As she draws her blade, she rotates it to create an incredible speed. This is literally the fastest drawing technique of the new Shadow style. And with that, we go to our only known first year of the Kyoto Prefectural Jujutsu High, Arata Nita. And there's not a lot we know about him, right beside his curse technique, which he explains to Yuji in chapter 127. His technique stops injuries from getting worse. Any bleeding or pain a person is having is stopped. Now Arata makes it clear that he can't heal them, and he also can't stop future injuries with this technique. Now, other than his relation to the Tokyo manager Akari Nita, there isn't much known considering he's a newly introduced character. So let's finally talk about the teachers in the Kyoto school, starting with the principal, Yoshinobu Gakuganji. Yoshinobu is the principal of Kyoto Metropolitan Curse Technical College. Not much is known about his past, but we do know that he is 76 years old and he dislikes breaking tradition, and he also loves Jimi Hendrix. Now, after some digging, I also found out that Yoshinobu could be a reference to the last shogunate of the Tokugawa family. Tokugawa Yoshinobu was also at a crossroads in changing era, just like how the principal is in Jujutsu Kaisen. Being the shogun when the Meiji Restoration was coming at a full swing, Yoshinobu was forced to resign as the role he played wasn't of impact or influence during the shifting tides of Japan. You can see see the principal in a similar light, as he is an old man with old traditions who's getting upped by the youngsters like Gojo, who can recognize the value in Yuji as the vessel of Sukuna, whilst the principal sees Yuji as a threat. And although in the anime you sometimes want to slap this old man across the room with how he treats Yuji, he isn't a bad person. When the Goodwill event was attacked, he was quick to intervene and cooperate with Gojo, stating that the safety of his students was priority rather than defeating their enemies. Also, due to his experience, he was quick to gauge the enemy's grade and skill at a single glance. Now, we don't know a whole lot about the principal's skill except that he uses his guitar in tandem with his curse techniques. He basically plays a melody on his guitar and sends it out as a cursed energy. To be honest, when he's fighting, he looks pretty badass. Lastly, we have is the final known teacher of the Kyoto branch, Utahime Iori. Yes, there are only 2 teachers we know of so far from the Kyoto High, as the Kyoto students came to Tokyo for the Goodwill event. Maybe later, if our boy Yuji and the gang goes to Kyoto, we'll see more of the Kyoto members. Anyways, Utahime is a semi-grade 1 sorcerer and was a student around the same time as Gojo. Not much is known about Utahime at this time, other than the fact that Gojo loves messing with her, calling her weak here and there, which he retaliates, making the interaction pretty funny. And yeah, that's it. We pretty much covered everyone that we know from the Kyoto Prefectural Jujutsu High School. And if you don't want us to go into any of these characters individually, then make sure to let us know down in the comment section below. And again, if you have not watched our Tokyo High School breakdown, then make sure to do so. I pinned the link down in the comment section below for you lot. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and till then guys, I'll catch you lot next time.